I can never hear this story and not imagine how I would have handled it differently if I was Jesus. If I'm coming through the locked door after all that has taken place among us as the 12 and him, I think my attitude would be more hands on hips, going, "What happened to you guys? Where were you? Peter, at the Last Supper, you, Lord, I will never deny you. Yeah, and I told you we're going to do it, and you did it anyway. You all ran away like a bunch of scaredy cats. None of you were anywhere to be found." He could have gone on, right? But he doesn't. He meets their failure with mercy. One might even say divine mercy. Right? And they're afraid. They're absolutely afraid. And he speaks peace into their fear. That's his response. That's why you should be happy that Jesus is your Savior and not me, because that would be how I would handle it. There it is. How he meets them. And it's such a beautiful expression. And then, of course, Thomas, who gets blamed for being doubting. But the reality is, what Thomas speaks is he calls to account the gap of what they're saying versus what they're doing. "We have seen the Lord." You can imagine his really? They would retell the whole story. "Oh yeah, he came here, he breathed on us, he commissioned us." Yeah? Why is the door locked? He died and rose again? See, it don't match up. What you're saying and what you're doing, they don't align. So so he gets blamed for being doubting, but quite frankly, the evidence doesn't support what they're saying. "No, it's awesome, he's alive." Lock the door. We still don't believe. But maybe in there was this contentiousness. Maybe they said, "Well, we need you to see it if we're going to do this together." Right? There's a lot of possibilities to start. We don't have all the details. Maybe there was this contentious debate going on in the upper room. And when he finally shows up that second time and gives him what he needs, because that's the next point I think we need to see, is that Jesus encounters him right where he is. Jesus never argues people into faith. He meets them into faith. He encounters them where they are. So even take the example of doubting Thomas. Let's assume that he had no reason to doubt them other than his own obstinance. Fine. Jesus meets him there and says, "Check it out. Stop the unbelief, become believing." Either way, we can't win. Jesus is always going to win because he's going to meet us there and he's going to meet us here. We come with our own fears and anxieties and wounds and relationships that need to be healed, all of that. We've got our own upper rooms filled with people who are yelling at each other and not listening to one another and name calling and all kinds of fun stuff. We have lots of reason in our world to be anxious. I was just having a chat last night with one of my friends in the Philippines who's greatly anxious about, as we talk about the impact decisions make on us in this country, they're exponential in developing countries. In the Philippines, their gas prices have gone up. They're the second highest increase in the world. And so people are just walking and they don't see how it's going to change. And rice has become hoarded and countries aren't sharing it now. And people can start to feel the whole thing pushing down. And it was just an opportunity to say, "I see you. I hear you. And I can't fix your problem, but I want you to know that you're seen and that you're heard." Because for so many people, that's the thing. Does anyone see me? Does anyone even know that these are the experiences that I'm having? That might be what Thomas was saying in that moment. That's awesome that you guys had that experience. For whatever reason, he was out of the room. But that's not my experience. And Jesus meets him and says, "I see you, Thomas. I see you." And he says the same to us. Whatever the hurt, the difficulty, the unfulfillment, the symphony that is unfinished in our life, whatever it looks like, he's meeting us right in that moment to say, "I see you, I'm with you." And that doesn't give us magical fixes. It never does. But I hope it calls us to see what Pope Francis said about 10 years ago about mercy. To say that if we want to be instruments of God's mercy, the two ways that's done is in our giving forgiveness to others and in ours healing each other. Healing each other. That's a lot more work than just speaking the creed. That's a lot more work than driving to church once a week and coming to liturgy. That's a lot more work than anything that I think most people put together in their mind to go, whoa, forgiveness, that's its own spiritual weight room. But to say, I'm going to become the kind of person that heals, that offers healing to others, well, we're not going to do that on our own. And Jesus says, no problem, I'll meet you right there. And I'm going to give you what I know you need, which is my presence. So he'll meet us in this Eucharist. And he'll empower us to do those things that only we can do in our lives, where we are the perfect instrument of mercy and healing because of our proximity to the people that God puts in our lives. It's the way in which the light of Christ goes to all the corners of darkness in this world. Not magically, but incarnationally done through us. Well, that's an invitation. And that's a challenge. And I don't know what it means for me even for the rest of today. I can look down my calendar and see what I can see. But I also know there's always things that come up that weren't scheduled. And I'm sure you have a few of your own. But when we begin our day by saying, Lord, I'm going to meet you there because I know you'll meet me there. Strengthen me. Feed me to be the kind of person that is merciful and healing. Then divine mercy isn't something that we mention once in a while. It's something that people who meet us will always taste and see. That's the opportunity, that's the invitation laid for us to be people that can say in a room, peace be with you. And it isn't our peace that we're offering, but it's the same peace of Christ that didn't meet failure with rebuke. He met failure with mercy. And into their fear, he spoke peace. And so even in our own hearts that have all kinds of things, as I said, that might have some fear and anxiety and hurt and all of that, that doesn't all magically go away. But we can at the same time hold all of those realities into the eternal reality, which is his peace and his mercy and his love. It's an invitation here on this 8th day of Easter, of this particular experience of our lives, of our faith community here at St. John the 23rd, in our country, in our world, and indeed in our universe. Will we accept the invitation? Do we see him meeting us into faith? And will we follow where he calls us to go? May God be praised.